So here's the food for thought. I know, and I'm sure you know, that the media is abuzz again. But this latest stated bombshell probably doesn't change a lot of votes. And the real story is why, but it is not about media bias, okay? I'm not afraid of going after the media. I certainly have a lot of personal experience. But let's be fair. Trump losing to E. Jean Carroll twice, $80 million in damages, is epic. The former president has once again set a new standard for bad behavior and for lying about the same. Now, you want to wave it away, fine, but then don't say you're a law and order person. The better question is, how does this not move the needle? Now, my qualification on that is, I'll tell you how it doesn't move it in the primary, but whether it matters in the general election is a very different question. Why? Well, perversely, the number alone, 80 million, should be an incredible shame, right? But it will likely only inflame Trump. He will likely use the number, 80 million, almost as many times to show he is being targeted by the system. Is he? You look at the facts, you look at the law, you look at the process, you look at the outcomes, you can easily make the argument, no. But the better question is, why doesn't it matter to the base in the way that it's being magnified in early primaries? And I don't think it's about the facts or the law. Look, anyone who cares about the issues that E. Jean Carroll's situation represents, that she raised, are likely not Trump voters. Now, I'm not condemning Trump voters. I'm saying if you're concerned about women who make allegations of sexual assault against men in power, Trump's probably not your guy. Let's be honest, okay? And if you really care about whether the man or woman you're working for is a paragon of virtue, he's probably not your guy. And I would argue no one will be, and that really shouldn't be your basis. I think moral judgments, you got to be very careful. But I digress. The more sticky analysis is how the base of supposed law and order, right? Real law and order advocates will be okay with him losing twice on such ugly allegations. The best explanation, and the reason that we've only seen his support grow with each prosecution, is because, in fact, this man has obviously engaged in things that not only transgress norms, but likely legal standards. And yet with each one, the base makes a very interesting choice: to blame the system instead of him. How? Here's the rationale. Because there are a lot of other people, they believe, in the establishment, in the elite, in the power structure, which somehow Trump magically doesn't qualify for, even though he's a former president who was rich because of his daddy, who had the bankruptcy laws protect him, and has had like a lifelong escapade with the law. Somehow he doesn't count as establishment. But their feeling is, there's so many of them that get away with the same kinds of things that they're coming after Trump for, that until they're prosecuted the same way, it's wrong for Trump to be prosecuted too. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense legally, but politics is as much about feel as it is about anything else. And if you feel the system is rigged and that your guy says it's rigged and he's going to fight against it, and then the system comes after him, it's not so unreasonable, even if you're wrong, that you see a connection. However, once you get into a general election, what changes? Real independent voters, real people out there, you who have a real desire to get the hell past the fringes of left and right and absurdity, and replace absurdity with reasonable ideas that you believe there's a chance that they could be made manifest in actual action by government. Then will this baggage haunt Trump? With those people, people like you, maybe. But I think there's a chance that there's another headline from today that may matter more. Now, I'm not saying it should, although they both matter, okay? But it matters here. And I'm going to do more on this at NewsNation because I think it's not getting the attention. Here it is. What is the best issue that Trump is running on that isn't just about visceral feelings about the country? The border, okay? The security, the processing, the efficiency, the regulation on every level is a failure. And it is no secret as to why. It is no secret as to why the numbers ballooned after the Trump administration ended. There is no secret as to why it remains in disorder. It is no secret why it hasn't been fixed. There is no doubt in my mind that this problem works better for the two-party game than any solution. And if you didn't believe me before, you write it off as cynical or it's an agenda or whatever. How about now? 300,000 migrants crossed the southern border. It's a record last month, okay? You ask anybody who works on the border, the men and women who care, and they care about the people who are coming. They have family connections, they have cultural connections, they have human connections. They know how to fix it. It is denied them, and we are not a wall away. It's a list of things that they need. And just today we learned the Senate actually came to a bipartisan deal that goes a distance down the correct road of correcting border security. It's not perfect, nothing is, okay? But I have from multiple sources, and there's a reason that they're hiding the language of the bill, and I'll get to it in a second, that this is a good deal. Everybody gets something, everybody doesn't get something, okay? And this is supposed to be the issue, right? Every poll, the economy matters. But then when you get to this is huge, especially for Republicans, especially for Republicans. So here we are, Republicans, right, spearheading a bill with Democrats in the Senate, getting ready to hand it off to the House. And what happens? Trump, his cronies, including people you elected in the House and Senate, scuttle it. Why? Don't take it from me. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. What does he say? The politics on this has changed. What? Well, as explained by McConnell, okay, we're worried about doing this deal because we think it may hurt Trump's chances in the election. Think about this. So instead of fixing a problem that you are right, you're not going to fix it so that Trump, who says the problem matters more than almost anything else, can complain about it, run on it, and fix it when he gets in. So you're not going to restore order to the border, keep it in chaos to help your party and the candidate. But you're about law and order. And they're not even hiding the fact. Mitch McConnell wasn't caught on a hot mic. That's how toxic the game has gotten. That's how brazen the players are. McConnell said this out loud. And, oh, he's old. I don't believe him. Fine. Okay? I think you're being foolish. McConnell has health problems, but he understands the game as anybody. He, created a lot of the rules of the game. But don't blame the player. Blame the game. The new Speaker of the House, Johnson, says he lives by the good book. Obviously missed a few pages. Why? Because he all but assured the Senate that that bill is dead on arrival. Oh, well, but he had this list of all these policy reasons. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And nobody will talk to you about the bill. Why? Because it's not about the damn bill. It's about fealty to Trump. And on this signature issue that you say matters so much, and you're right, the fentanyl, the human trafficking, the desperation, the human cost of how we are treating people who could add to this country. All of it is true and bad and terrible. But you're not going to fix it so you can preserve it as a cudgel in the election. How crazy is that? And I think this may matter in the general. I guarantee you they're coming up with reasons now to say that the bill is no good, that the same senators who are going to agree to it were not saying before all this to justify what they're really doing, which is preserving it so that Trump can run on it. And that is not right. If this is truly going to be a battle of this, which is just who is worse, $80 million verdict, twice over, proving that you sexually assaulted a woman, that's ugly stuff. But I don't know how you can explain away as it being the system going after you, that when government finally moves on what you say is the biggest threat to national security, that Trump and other Republicans say, we're not going to solve it so that I can keep complaining about it and they say, okay, we're not going to do our job for the people so that we can help you get elected. That's about as damning as any court case that I can imagine. But let's stay tuned to see how they try to explain it away. But I'm telling you, as of now, that's why it's getting scuttled. And that should piss you off as much as anything, because this is about you and how you are being valued and how you are being treated. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.